What's up, Wildcats? Welcome to UATV Channel 3 Sports, a special edition of On the Ball. It is our final episode of the year. I mean, it is the first episode of the year, but it's also the final episode of the year because starting next week, we will have a new sports segment introducing the Daily Wildcat. We'll call it the Weekly Wild Chat. It'll still be every Friday right here, same time, same place on Channel 3 Sports. I'm your host, Justin Spears, and joining alongside with me, I can't think of a better co-host to end the show than the lovely Danielle Fork.
I love being with Justin. Hello, everyone.
So, on the ball, so many memories, so many bros. We had so many guests. We had Paul McGlure, Arizona linebacker. We've had Zach Clark from ESPN Tucson join the show. We've also had Gabe Encinas, who will also be joining us today. He'll be closing out the show with us. Okay. So, a lot of history with On the Ball, but On the Ball will be strictly radio from now to this point. Like I said, Daily Wildcat will be introducing to UATV. So, Danielle, we have to start off the show. Arizona Wildcats getting into some news this weekend.
Some big news.
Now, former Arizona running back Orlando Bradford was arrested and booked to Pima County Jail Wednesday for 4 counts of aggravated assault and 3 counts of kidnapping, setting a secure bond of $20,000. Now, this is not a good look for the Arizona Wildcats, especially because Keenan Walker just had an incident where he punched a bouncer at a Scottsdale nightclub, and then so many off-the-field issues. And even with what happened at Baylor, all those domestic violence cases that went on in Baylor, and, you know, ever since 2015, there have been 9 arrests for domestic violence in just the NFL alone.
Yep.
So I mean, whether it's college or the NFL, domestic violence seems to be the trend with some of these players, and it's not a good look for football.
It's not a good look, and I actually just had the same thing happen over the summer. I was interning in Columbus, and Briante Dunn on Ohio State got kicked off the team for the same thing, beating up domestic violence, just not being smart with their life choices, I feel like. And I keep saying that, too, that this is just becoming so common that it's almost it's disgraceful because you have such good athletes who have this awesome opportunity, at least in college, you have an awesome opportunity to, you know, make a professional career for yourself. You're getting, you know, scholarships, you're getting food, you have, like, a team around you, and you go and do something stupid like domestic violence and just lose your opportunity for all of that.
And that's the key word right there is opportunity, because I look at a guy like Orlando Bradford, who was Calvin McGee, the Arizona running backs coach. He said that Orlando Bradford is viewed as a co-starter. Mm-hmm. He is a guy that's supposed to come in and give Nick Wilson those extra reps, like give Nick Wilson some time to breathe. That way, Nick Wilson isn't taking 34 carries a game.
Yeah.
Orlando Bradford was supposed to be that guy, and it's so unfortunate to see a guy just throw it all down the toilet like that. But
he's somebody who actually saw the field and was going to see more of the field this year.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's just disappointing for me to see, especially when you have thousands of athletes out there who are waiting to be recruited, dying to be recruited, and then people like this who get such an awesome opportunity to be playing at Arizona, I think one of the finest football programs in the Pac-12, and whoop, right down the drain.
and I was looking back at all the arrests in just college football, and Arizona is tied for 7th.
Wow.
So, I mean, a lot of off-the-field issues going on.
It's interesting to see how they deal with it. Actually, I had Greg Byrne come into my class yesterday, and someone asked him, like, what is your favorite part about being an AD? And he said, no day is ever the same. He said, every day I never know what's going to happen. I never know what's going to pop up, and that's definitely one of them, is I'm sure they always have to be prepared for something happening with these athletes.
And Bradford's alleged victim, who is obviously rumored to be his ex-girlfriend, and that's a given, she released the order of action against Bradford Wednesday because I went out to the arraignment, and which, by the way, Orlando Bradford, all the people that before it came up to the arraignment, they all had like their jumpsuits on. Yeah. He was wearing a San Diego Chargers shirt. Like,
don't give him a bad name.
Could that be a bruh moment? That should be a bruh moment.
That's a bruh moment. Like, what are you doing?
No, but his girlfriend came up, and by the way, I thought his girlfriend showed a lot of courage that day because she came up and said, I don't think that he should be released. And she said, and quote, he should be held accountable for his actions, and that I'm scared of what he will do if he was released.
That's strong for her.
You know, you've heard the stories about what happened or what allegedly happened. I think for her to go up against a person that she dated, a person that she obviously admired at some point in time, and say, no, don't do it. I think that's so strong on her part because, one thing that I always think about whenever it goes through these people's minds, whenever they're thinking about, telling on their loved one who's being charged for domestic violence, I really don't want to ruin this person's career.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, that person's ruining their career just by that action alone.
Right.
So, I don't know.
And I feel like it all comes down to, one, mental stability, and obviously her physical appearance. She can't hide it forever.
Yeah. Well, and
as much as she might love him and admire him and not want to ruin his career, her not coming forward about it is just going to tear her down mentally, and who knows what would happen to the poor girl in her mental state. So I give her, like you said, I have a lot of respect for her for coming forward, for sure.
And like I said, over the past 6 years, U of A players have been arrested 10 times. So, I mean, think about it. Every year, one player's for sure going to get arrested, and then there could be potentially two.
Those weren't all for domestic violence, right?
No, they were just arrests in general.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just mind-blowing to think that no matter what year it is in the Rich Rod era, you are going to have a player arrested. Yeah. You don't know what it's going to be for.
That's like as a coach, every season you have to prepare yourself.
Oh, man, I wonder what player's going to get arrested.
And I wonder what for.
Exactly. And like I said, over the past year and a half, 9 domestic violence cases. So, I mean, police brutality is a huge controversial topic to discuss, but all of these domestic violence cases that are being huge news, like for a day like this or like a day like Wednesday, it just kind of gets more like swept under the rug. I mean, eventually that person will find a team if your name isn't Ray Rice.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. I think it's super crazy.
Go ahead, bring it on. Bring it on.
I don't want to get too into it, but just the NFL in general, it drives me crazy how much attention this Colin Kaepernick situation is getting. I think it's being way blown out of proportion because you can have domestic violence in the NFL, you can rape in the NFL, you can overdo, drugs, alcohol, and all, but like you said, just get swept under the rug, like the player might get kicked to a different team, all this kind of stuff. It does hit the news sometimes, like the Ray Rice one hit the news and whatnot, but when it comes to this, not standing for the flag thing, it's like huge. It's so blown out of proportion. It's like, okay, so you can rape, you can do, beat people up, you can do drugs, alcohol, and we're not going to say anything. But the moment you sit down for the national anthem, huge deal.
Well, I think the biggest difference between obviously national anthem and this is there's potentially a positive message that could be sent from what Colin Kaepernick is doing.
This is true. Yeah.
I'm not agreeing with what Colin Kaepernick is doing at all.
Right.
Let's just get that off the record, just straight. I don't agree what he should be doing. I feel like every person should stand up and honor the flag, honor the country whenever the national anthem is played because that's what it's there for. Right. We're supposed to honor our country. But Colin Kaepernick is sending a message that was just echoed throughout the country. You're seeing college players doing. You're seeing high school players do it. I'm surprised if we're going to see a video coming up soon where a Pop Warner player is doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really play national anthem Pop Warner, but if that were the case, then I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
It's just with this whole situation in the national anthem versus the domestic violence cases. Like I said, it is sending a positive message, and the reason why there's so much more, I should say, reaction to something like this is because there's so many elements to go along with it. That's why you have the people in the military, you have the police, you have people that are just nationalists in general that love America.
Yeah.
Something like domestic violence, it only affects one people, and that's the victim itself.
Right.
Because, I mean, it really doesn't have an effect on me personally. So.
Right, but I just feel like it should have an effect on the whole NFL because it happens so much.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Such a common thing.
It's a trend. It's a trend.
And it's just, I feel like if people want to take a stand against police brutality, why hasn't everybody taken a stand against domestic violence and all this stuff? I don't know. One thing I do find funny, though, is that everybody is burning Colin Kaepernick's jersey. And I think for that, it's funny because you have to go out and buy the jersey first.
Yes.
And so they're spending money to buy the jersey, which is technically probably he's going to profit of that.
Yes.
And then they go and burn it. And I think that's just funny in a way because I don't know what kind of message they're trying to send there.
I mean, but more power to Colin Kaepernick because I really thought that guy was trying to get traded.
Yeah.
And now he's sending a pretty, I would say positive message, but an impactful message.
Yeah, definitely impactful.
And now he's got cornrows now.
I didn't see that.
He reduced the afro to cornrows.
That's probably because I saw so many memes on Twitter that was like, if you're going to be in the public eye, you got to do something with that hair.
He looks like a troll doll. Or I don't even know what he looks like, but yeah. But anyways, going back to the whole Orlando Bradford case.
Yeah.
I think Rich Rodriguez might have to change his recruiting tactics because, you hear the OKG, our kind of guys. These don't look like your kind of OKGs. Mm-mm. And I think it's whenever Rich Rodriguez has to go out and recruit these players, he's got to address the issues about what's going on. It's kind of not easy to just go up to a recruit and say, like, hey, are you going to beat up your girlfriend?
Right.
It's just obviously they're going to say no, but I really think that Rich Rodriguez and the rest of the personnel should truly evaluate these people.
Yeah, like get into their life behind football.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of person are they off the field? Because, like you said, having that many arrests in Arizona football in these past, what'd you say, 6 years?
Yeah.
Like, that has to, send a message to the football
10 times.
program.
10 times in 6 years.
We really need to do some background checks on our players.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep having this happen because, obviously, it has an effect on the team.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure a lot of the players really don't agree with it because a lot of the players on the team, they have committed relationships. They have wives. Sonny Fumano, who's a Mormon, he has a kid and a wife.
Yeah, Paul has a girlfriend and a child, too.
Paul McGlure has a girlfriend and a kid.
Beautiful child. Oh,
and
he's so cute.
These guys are family people, and they see something like that, and it's like, I don't want that in my environment. So, and
that's the thing too, is I don't think anybody really saw it coming. When we first, when the news first broke, everybody on the football team that was kind of, around, that they were talking about it, they're like, we didn't even see this coming out of Orlando. You know what I mean? But that again goes with what you're saying, is that they need to evaluate these players more off of the field because, I mean, if you live with him, obviously you're going to see his personality more, but his teammates that just see him on the field don't really know his personality well enough that when he did this, behind the scenes, they were like, what?
Yep.
Him?
Mm-hmm.
And so that just goes to show that they don't know the players.
But we're bringing in an expert to talk more about Bradford's case.
Yeah.
We're bringing in the multi-talented Arizona Desert Swarm writer, Gabe Encinas. He'll be joining us to talk about Arizona's football matchup with Hawaii this weekend. And I'm going to test out Danielle and Gabe's language skills.
Woo-woo.
So don't go away. More on the ball coming up right here on UATV Channel 3. Welcome back to On the Ball, everybody, right here on UATV Channel 3. So we talked some Orlando Bradford news in his domestic violence case, something that he's been battling out since Wednesday. Joined alongside here, my man, Gabe Encinas, Arizona Desert Swarm writer. It is a privilege to have him on this show. The very last On the Ball before we start a new show next week.
I'm excited for a new start.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, Gabe, first things, before we get into the Orlando Bradford case, Brandon Dawkins didn't have the prettiest performance against Grambling State last weekend. Not something that everybody was hoping for. Everybody thought that he was going to just flat out ball out. He only threw for 223 yards, but first quarterback since 1996 to have 97 yards on the floor in his debut as a starter.
Really?
So, what are just something that you saw from Brandon Dawkins?
Looking back, I think it was maybe a little unfair to just think, oh, he's the savior to all the problems and just kind of the frustrations of Anu Solomon, I guess. But, it's just that first half jitters, And I think it just took him some time to get a little bit more comfortable. And, I think Grambling State came out and punched him in the mouth a little bit, and then that just kind of threw off everything. Maybe they weren't expecting that much, and they're just, all right, first half starters go in, then we can kind of work our depth in. But I think it was just a little surprising to see Grambling State come out, and that just kind of shook the whole team. But as far as Brandon's play, I think there's obviously room for improvement. I think he just shows that his ceiling is much higher than Anu's, and I think that's kind of the big thing going forward if he continues to do well and if Anu's injury continues to hold him back.
Now, Rich Rodriguez always talked about the differences between the two. It's like, obviously, one's better than the other in this category, and it's just constantly just a teeter-totter. What are the biggest differences that you've seen with Brandon Dawkins compared to Anu?
He leaves me at a loss of words sometimes. It's just like sometimes he just shakes your head. He just makes you shake your head sometimes.
Yeah.
Just doesn't give his receivers a chance, and it's just like, well, okay, he's just gonna roll out and then throw the ball away. But with Brandon, you can at least roll out and maybe run for at least 2 yards.
Yeah.
If not, you can make a or break a tackle or make something happen. But I think that's just the biggest difference. And I think the O-line, listening to them throughout this whole week, they were saying it opens up the playbook so much more. And so you're just able to have that extra running back and quarterback back there. So I think just so much more versatility.
Danielle, what are your thoughts on the quarterback situation?
I personally am excited to see Brandon more. I just think, like you guys say, he's a runner, and I like that. I think there's a lot of times where I do agree with you that Anu doesn't give his receivers a chance, but he also doesn't run the ball really.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like Brandon does give his receivers a chance, and when he can't find his receiver, he's not afraid to use his legs and go. And I think that's a big benefit for him. And just also, I think he feels more that he has to earn his spot, more as Anu is just a little too comfortable, I think, sometimes. And so Brandon kind of gives that extra push to be there and to show that he deserves to be there. And so I'm excited to see him get some more playing time and lead the team a little bit more. Anu leaves me at a loss for words, too, sometimes. And, he's been here since I was a freshman. And so we had a little bit I saw a little bit like Gerard Randall last year with the switch, but I'm just used to Anu because he's all I've seen since I've been here. So I'm excited to see somebody other than him.
All right, but the defense, on the other hand, even though Brandon Dawkins showed flashes of greatness, the defense, on the other hand, didn't look that special. Gabe, you and I have talked about the defense once or twice before. Obviously, they're trying to earn a reputation that they had last year, and they're trying to just completely eliminate it. They're trying to show that Marcel Yates did change the defense completely. What are your thoughts on the defense moving forward?
They show flashes here and there, but then it's just just poor tackling all throughout. And then one thing that's a little not frustrating, just questionable, I think, this whole offseason in the spring, they're saying, it's going to be an attacking defense, but the corners are playing 10, 12 yards off every time. And, they've made an emphasis that the secondary was going to be a huge part in attacking and, being more aggressive, playing press coverage, maybe blitzing, but we really haven't seen that. It's, them getting just chipping away and then just poor tackling on top of that. So you're just giving them yards here and there. We saw a lot of turnovers in the second half, but, and they did all they could against BYU. But, it's a work in progress for sure.
Well, Michael Bard said in the press conference it was all about angle tackling. And I'm going to go ahead and say that's BS.
Interesting.
That is BS right there. I love Michael Bard to death. He's a great guy. But I'm just going to say, from what I saw against Grambling State, it was like you said, the DBs playing, giving them that nice little cushion. And even when they were making those quick little outs or the quick slants, they were still meeting them. When they already had the ball, they should be coming as soon as the ball's released. And then talk about angle tackling. Go for the legs. There were very few times where I saw them go for the legs, and that's what Rich Rodriguez said that the defense, that's something they needed to work on, was every time a Grambling skill player had the ball, it seemed like they were trying to dance. They were trying to pretty much out-athleticize them. And a school like Grambling State, where they focus on speed and that's really all they have in order to upset a school like Arizona, you got to just do the basics and just go for the legs. So
I actually wasn't here for Grambling State, but just from BYU, and then when I heard about Grambling State, I still want to see more out of Paul McClure. I was really excited at the beginning of the season for him this season, but I still have yet to see that power out of him and that awesome defensive player that everyone knows that he can be. Him and Dane. I like Dane a lot. I think he's a unique corner size-wise, but I still want to see more out of him. I think both of those players have a lot of potential that they still have yet to show, personally.
Well, Paul was the leading tackler against BYU, and I think he had 11 tackles, and nine of them, or 8 or 9 of them, were solo tackles.
Yeah.
So that's where you see the hybrid position of being able to tackle in the open field and translate it into the linebacker position. So Arizona will have a new look this weekend. Arizona Athletics posted a few days ago on Twitter that the Wildcats will honor the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor with their uniforms. Gabe, I know you like those a lot.
Oh yeah, I've been longing for a gray or a black alternate jersey combo of sorts. It's a shame that it'd only be for 1 week, one game.
Yeah.
But I actually got a chance to look at those Monday, and I was I was so excited. Just the new block A on the or the throwback block A on the helmet, and then just having the gray on there. That's all I've been.
You actually saw the jersey?
Yeah.
Oh man,
it was
Lucky.
it was hard to
I can't wait.
It was hard to keep it in. I was trying to give my followers some subtle hints, but
I love them too. I think they're so cool. I like, first off, it's awesome because they're a part of history.
Yeah.
I like they have the little battalion thing on the sleeve, and I actually thought it was cool. I saw when they released the video of the jerseys on Twitter, I saw a bunch of of the older generations quoting the tweet and writing that they started crying when they saw the jerseys, or it was so special to them. And I think that's the true awesome meaning behind the jerseys, besides the fact that they look dope.
I asked the bookstore yesterday, will you be selling these jerseys? And they said no.
Dang.
So I took an L that day. All right.
Do the players get to keep the jerseys? That was my other question.
Oh.
If they do, expect a few jerseys to be stolen. Just to say that. So, all right. One last thing before we preview Arizona taking on Hawaii. I'm going to test out your Maori language.
Oh, boy.
Let's see. All right. Question number 1. What does Wutu Poro American mean? American football, American food, or American whistle?
Football.
I'm
football.
going with food.
Gabe's already got the first point. All right, number 2. Meaning of Kawani: Kiwis, king, or kicker?
Kicker.
I'll go king.
Danielle's on the board with 1. All right, so we're tied at 1 apiece. Meaning of Parira Hihi:
Did you practice these?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
chicken wings, French fries, or popcorn?
Chicken wings.
French fries.
Gabe's on the board. 2-1 Gabe. All right, one last question. How about Wahanga Wakamatunga? Last episode, new segment, or final goodbyes?
Final goodbyes.
New segment.
Neither. Last episode. So, Gabe is our winner. Gabe, congratulations, my man.
You can
So-
travel to Hawaii now.
Yeah.
All right, well, so that leads us to our final segment. Let's break down U of A versus Hawaii. Gabe, what will happen, score, and prediction?
What will happen? I think Brandon Dawkins comes out with a lot more confidence, a lot more energy, and I think they just kind of come out refocused a little bit. So I'll go with a score prediction of, I'll go 38-13, Arizona.
All right.
All right, me. First off, I think I need to say something about Hawaii. I have to give them a lot of props they are some troopers for their travel.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this today. Their first game, they flew to Australia.
Yep.
Second game, they flew to Michigan, and then they were home. And now they're flying, I think it's a 6-hour flight to Arizona.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I know for me when I travel, being on a plane takes a toll on me. So I feel like that's kind of a weakness in their spot, all that jet lag. But anyways, Hawaii. I think Arizona's going to win, too. I think Brandon will come out with more confidence. I think we need to pass a lot against them. But I'm going to go with a score of 31-20.
Gabe, you'll appreciate me for saying this. I think this is the game now with Orlando Bradford officially dismissed from the team. I think this is a game that you'll see a lot of J.J. Taylor, and I really like from what I've seen. Rich Rodriguez said that he's a player that he's too good not to have him on the field, and that they were going to give him a lot of playing time this week. So I think Arizona will come out and handle their business. Obviously, Nick Wilson will do Nick Wilson things. And J.J. Taylor, I really can see him putting up a 2-touchdown performance.
I would like to see him.
If the things fall where they are. Obviously, Hawaii playing Michigan and Cal, they have experience against a pretty good program, so I could see them covering the spread as well. So I will go ahead and say Arizona gets the win 42-17. I think Hawaii will put some points on the board.
Yeah,
so.
I'll give them some points too.
So, okay. Well, that will do it for our final episode of On the Ball. Again, don't forget to tune in next Friday for the weekly Wild Chat. For Danielle Fork, that's Gabe Encinas. I'm Justin Spears. Don't forget to like us on our Facebook page, YouTube page, and follow us on Twitter. We're out of here. See you next week, Wildcats. Peace. I gotta upload this to YouTube. I gotta do that.
How far is your car?
It's that Sandal.
So did you walk with it?
Yeah.